Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the Kiwi Lads channel. In this video, I will be doing my preview for the upcoming Sevens fixture between Samoa and New Zealand. But if you do enjoy this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Now let's get straight into this preview. The round one of the Commonwealth Games Sevens has just concluded, which does mean every side has played once, Samoa and New Zealand, both getting themselves wins, which does mean someone will continue their winning streak and the other side will unfortunately end up losing it. But this game is always one that everyone looks forward to. New Zealand, the structure that they have in their sevens, they did manage to beat Sri Lanka 63 points to 5, and after that first half it was actually a bit closer than a lot of people had anticipated. But New Zealand, they ramped it up in the second half, getting themselves a big win by 58 points, whereas Samoa, they were clinical in their game. They weren't allowing England back into that contest at any stage, and they were able to win it 34 points to 0. So both of these sides having comfortable wins, which makes it even more exciting to see who manages to take out the upcoming New Zealand versus Samoa game. It will be kicking off at around 7 AM New Zealand time, and there is one thing for sure, it is going to be an awesome game. But what we will do during this preview is we will be looking at the past match for both of the sides, what the sides did well, what they will want to improve on in their upcoming match up against each other, and then also the key players, and then a prediction right at the end. We will start with New Zealand's game up against Sri Lanka. It was the first game of Pool A. New Zealand winning at 63 points to 5. Like I mentioned, a lot of tries being scored throughout that game. And the thing is, New Zealand at halftime, they were winning 28 points to 5. Then they did ramp it up in that second half, getting themselves 5 tries to Sri Lanka's 0. In that second half, Sri Lanka's try for me was actually the best try of that match. It was the kick in behind, the chase, the way the ball set up, and then Sri Lanka were able to get themselves the lone try of Ratwate. But New Zealand, a lot of try scorers in that game. Scott Curry, he was able to score the first try in the second minute, then also scoring Naroni Magavi Black, Sione Molia, Joe Weber. They were the first half try scorers. Then in the second half, we saw another try from Naroni Magavi Black. Dylan Collier got in there. Rockeli Soa, Sione Molia got his second, and then Caleb Tangitau was the last try scorer for the Kiwis. And the thing that will make them feel a little bit more confident going into that game up against Samoa was it wasn't all the same guys scoring. Yes, we saw 2 from Naroni Magavi Black and also the 2 from Sione Molia, but alongside that there were still quite a few other names getting themselves the tries, which will give them a bit of confidence heading into the next game that even if one of their players is missing or injured, they can still try and get the job done. Then we look at Samoa's game when they were able to win 34-0 up against the English. They were brilliant in that game. Samoa, Va'apelo Maleko, he was looking on fire as always. Steve Onisai had an absolute blinder. The way he was playing, he got himself a hat-trick as well, which was very impressive. But Samoa, they were physical up against England. Like I mentioned, they never let them back into the game. Once they did end up conceding that early try, scored by Steve Onisai in the third, alongside him the try scorers. In the 5th minute, it was Va'apelo Maleko. It seems like those two might have a little bit of a competition going between them. See who can score the most tries. Next try after that, it was also Steve Onisai, and then he did score himself another try just a little bit later, so he already had the hat-trick at halftime. Then Samoa, in the second half, they actually only scored the 2 tries. It was Valvasa Afa, and then also Falaniko was able to get the last one. Now, they did have a yellow card throughout that game, Samoa, of Letefea, which is something they will have to watch out for in the game up against New Zealand. You know that the discipline is something that can win a game. Samoa, they have been looking strong. They did play in the Oceania Sevens, which I think is what really helped New Zealand and Samoa out heading into the Commonwealth Games. Whereas the likes of England, they haven't actually played since the last leg of the World Sevens circuit, and Sri Lanka, they haven't actually played a lot of big matches in their rugby tenure, although they are going head-to-head up against England, which could be quite an interesting contest to see what the score ends up as for that game. But now we go to the key players for both of the sides. For New Zealand, if I had to pick 3, I would go Naroni Magavi Black, mainly because of what he was able to do in that first match, and also the 2-pointers. I mentioned them for New Zealand before the competition got underway. Conversions can win your games, and Naroni Magavi Black, his kicking was pretty decent up against Sri Lanka, so he is certainly one to watch out for. I'm also going to say Sione Molia, of course, because he scored the 2 tries. He's looking dangerous with the ball in hand, also distributing it nicely. So that is why I've gone with Sione Molia. And then the last name for the Kiwis that I would say to watch out for is once again the vice-captain, Dylan Collier. He's got that size, which is something that New Zealand will have to match up with Samoa in, or else Samoa will be able to do very nicely. In the breakdown for Samoa, the 3 players, you've already heard me mention 2 of them. First of all, Steve Onisai, coming off a hat-trick. Wouldn't mind another one. Possibly the first player to get 2 hat-tricks in the 2022 Commonwealth Games. if he does pull it off, but he's dangerous. He scores tries all the time. I don't think this game up against New Zealand will be any different. Another name, Va'apelomaleko. He's one of the co-captains, and he was certainly playing like one of the leaders of that Samoan side in their first game up against England. They had the foot on the throat mentality of just keeping on going and going and going. We can rest after the 14 minutes is up, but for now, we're going to try and make a statement, and we're going to try and keep that pressure on throughout the full match. And even when he didn't have the ball, you could see that he was asking for it anywhere he was on the field. He had his hand up, waving, shouting, asking for another opportunity, which is exactly what you want to see for Samoa, because that fast-paced style of the Samoans is something that could win them the game up against New Zealand, because New Zealand, they have quite a bit of structure in the way that they play at times, although they did have a few knock-ons in their first matchup up against Sri Lanka. But normally, if you give New Zealand enough time to think about what is going on, they are one of the better sides when it comes to working out exactly how to break down your defence and also be able to stop you from making your way through theirs. But Samoa, if they play at a fast pace and with minimal errors, I think Samoa could do very decently in this game, which is why Va'apelomaleko and Steve Onisai, I think, will be key. And the last man for Samoa in the key players list, it is Malani Matavao. He has kicking responsibilities in this game, but in the last match up against England, he was only 2 from 5 for his kicks, which is something that he will have to make sure that he improves before heading into this game up against New Zealand. You need all the extra points you can get, and that is somewhere where Samoa also could have a decent chance of being able to sneak themselves a victory. But now we're up to that stage of trying to predict a score. This game is tough to predict because it all depends on what side wants it more. Samoa, they look determined. New Zealand, they did look determined up against Sri Lanka. So for that reason, I am going to go with New Zealand winning it, and I will say New Zealand win it by 5, but it could easily go the way of Samoa, which is why this game, for me, has been the game that I've been looking forward to as soon as I saw all the games that were announced. But thank you all very much for tuning in. We will be live on the channel doing our watch-along commentary for that matchup. It is at 7:04 AM New Zealand time that it is kicking off, and it should be, like I mentioned, a very entertaining fixture. But thank you all very much for tuning in. If you did enjoy, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you all for the next one.